Hello and welcome back. We're picking up Endless Legend tonight. This will be a new run. This will be our second run on Endless Legend. Endless Legend 2 has come out. Not super interested necessarily in what I've seen with Endless Legend 2. At least from what I've seen, there's only 4 civilizations in there, and sort of mixing and merging some of the concepts in there. And I haven't necessarily seen enough of it to really decide whether or not I want to pick it up. But we're going to be playing Endless Legend 1 tonight. From a content standpoint, this is basically release vanilla. I have none of the expansions enabled. I do have some expansions, so we may turn some of them on in future runs. But this is what we've got on. Basically, I think this was all pretty much free stuff that came with the game if you bought the game on launch. That also helps, to some degree, keep our civilization list a little bit more simplistic. I believe we played on 4 last time, so let's go down to a reasonably small planet. Much the same. We're going to be playing a little bit more aggressive, so let's get into the factions here. Obviously, the top 5 here are from the expansions. I think they're showing up because I have the expansions, not necessarily because I have them enabled. I have them disabled at the moment. The plan this time is to play a little bit more aggressively than we did in the last run. In the last run, we played as the Broken Lords, or sometimes would be referred to as the Dust Lords. And in fact, I think that's what they're referred to in Endless Legend 2. These are one of the civilizations that has survived the jump into Endless Legends 2. I think it's the Dust Lords and the Necrophages make 2 of the 4 civilizations in Endless Legends 2. Didn't necessarily recognize any of the other ones as carryovers. Now, whether or not Endless Legend 2 will probably get expansions like Endless Legend 1 did. So some of the other ones may make an appearance in later expansions. But we played the Broken Lords last time. The Broken Lords, their main victory type is actually expansion. We didn't necessarily play them in expansion type. We sort of played them more of an economy victory type, much like you would probably play the Broken-Lords. And we did end up winning economic-wise. This time we're going to be playing something a little bit more combat aggressive. So I was thinking something along the lines of Cultists, which would be a supremacy victory, or Necrophages, which would be an elimination victory. All of these guys are actually sort of science diplomatic. You got one over here in the default set. So I'll probably go into a little bit why these two might be sort of more militaristic centric. So for example, in the case of the cultists you get 1 city. You have the high seat of the queen, which is you get to settle 1 city and you get no settler production, so you don't get the ability to make in cities. And then when you conquer cities, normally when everyone else conquers a city, they take the city. They gain possession of the city. The cultists instead immediately raise cities, converting a bunch of stuff into resources. So they convert and generate industry stockpiles and I think some science stockpiles and stuff. So basically they loot the city they take and basically burn it to the ground. They have 1 city. It's one city playstyle combat cycle. You also tend to want to play them a little bit more combat oriented and conflict oriented because again, you have 1 city. You have ways to make that city better than an average city, but you still only have 1 city. So there's an advantage in trying to keep everyone else around 1 city, keep everyone else down. Even if you're not going for full military conquest, there's an advantage potentially with doing that. And they have a whole bunch of various different faction effects. But mainly it's the sort of the 1 city conversion cultist stuff going on with the cultist. The cultists also can convert minor settlements. So they sort of get resources from all these minor settlements. And those minor settlements sort of... They generate cultists. Well, how to describe the cultists? They generate... Normally, if they were independent neutral, they generate sort of little roving armies every once in a while. when you're the cultist and you've made them join the cult, they'll instead generate little armies that are basically the roving armies, but they're under your control as the cult. Right, so when you're the cultists, you have the units you build, which tend to be higher quality, and obviously fewer in quantity, because you have one city to build them with. And then you have swarms of these sort of converts that end up joining your, making little armies of their own. So you have sort of a quantity over quality approach with sort of a elite backbone to face off against the enemy. So that's one of the things that makes the cultists sort of very, very, very militaristic. Though you don't have to play them militaristic. They're just there's lots of benefits to playing a very militaristic style. If for no other reason, oh, and there's the one with science. There's the science stockpile for population in destroyed cities. That you have one city, and you probably want to try to keep parity with everyone else, which is easiest to do if you're destroying their cities and looting it for industry and science. The other one I'm thinking of playing is the Necrophages, and these are probably the ones I'm going to go and play with. Hello, Twitch chat. The Necrophages are allowed to settle more cities, so they're not a one-city challenge one. But they have lots of things that sort of push them towards military operations. One of which is... Can I see the descriptor here that causes it? Not demanding gods. So the Necrophages... Can I get the descriptor here? I'm trying to figure out which word it is. The Necrophages by default are unable to sort of make peace with everyone. I'm trying to find the modifier in there. I can't find it right now. Okay. But yeah, the Necrophages by default can't make peace treaties with people. So you're always at least in a state of Cold War with everyone, if not outright open hostile war. And as I've been poking through some of these things, you have things like Call the Herd, where non-converted settlements, minor settlements, that are built up, right? In addition to providing whatever the normal benefit of population would be, provide you extra food because you're literally eating them. You're omnivorous in that form. You're pitiless. So, pitiless here is we don't get to have peace. We have no diplomatic technologies. We don't bribe, we don't talk. We're the swarm, we're going to eat you. And or we're going to enslave you to make food for us or to be food, right? So we're very, very, very militaristic here. We have the cannon fodder tech. This will show up in Era 2, where we get 50% off military upkeep and 20% off hero upkeep. And we're sort of like these bug-human hybrid things. A lot of play on with disease and disease immunity. So we inflict disease on other people, and we are resistant to it ourselves. And we got extra attack per declared war on units, extra health, regen on the entire empire, that sort of stuff. So I think we're going to go ahead and play in the sort of more militaristic-centric playstyle. Mr. Intro, options are Necrophages, cultists, and did you have any other options? We will eat you, yes. That's the Necrophages. The two, well, in theory you can play anyone militaristic in the game. The two that I was thinking I was going to highlight potentially for militaristic playthrough style would be the cultist and the Necrophage. The cultists because, first of all, they're sort of playing a one-city challenge, so when you're playing as them, there's benefits to trying to keep everyone else on parity with you, right? So if you're only have one city, you can be mean and make sure that everyone else only has, like, one city. And they get, whenever they basically raise a city, they will steal industry and they'll steal science from it, so you're sort of encouraged to go burn other people's cities now. And because they are the cult, and they literally get cult-like followers from all the minor villages they convert, they tend to have a swarm of minor units that you usually want to find something to do with. You don't want to just hold on to this giant swarm of units, you want to be using it. So you want to be finding conflict with people. Oops. And then the other one's the Necrophages. And I think Necrophages are the ones we're going to go with. One of the other ones, I don't think I've hovered over it. One of the other effects they have is it Forger? No, Forger's in the military unit. One of the other effects is Recycler, yeah. It's important that nothing goes to waste. Necrophages, big, very, very, very green in the wrong sort of green form. +1 cadaver per any unit killed in battle, unless you lose the battle. And +1 recycled stockpile per 8 cadavers. And recycling is very associated, as I would describe, with Soylent Green. You're capturing the corpses left in the battle, and that turns into food stockpiles, and you can generate food that way. So the sort of like cockroach, bug, human hybrid things, that everything is food. And that even, in theory, somehow includes the Broken Lords, which have no flesh. Still food. Yeah, I think we're going to go ahead and play as the Necrophages. We're going to play with 4 Empires on hard difficulty, on a large Pangea, sort of default settings. So, pretty similar to last time. I'm just going to leave everything on sort of the default settings for a small, large Pangea map on hard difficulty. So, bringing up all the various settings that we have here if you want to be recreating settings. And then generation presets, again, default. With that, I think we'll go ahead and get into the game. And there'll be a little intro video here as we get it.
Colony was everything. They were born as one. They fought as one. And they died as one. Driven by their hunger. But I hunted for something more. I stole the sentience of an ancient power and saw a greater purpose. For we were the first. Auriga is our planet. And I will turn our hunger against those trespassers who would take it from us. One day we will reign supreme on Auriga. And we will gaze up at the stars. Still hungry.
Gaze up at the stars. Still hungry. So that should pretty much give you an idea of the status of how we're going to be treating this game. Is we're going to be very militaristic. We're going to be on the search. Continual search for more and more food. This is actually, I think, a pretty good starting location. We might just sell right in place. We get some science and food off of that. We got some industry from the forest and stuff. So yeah, let's just plop right about there. I might get a little bit more shifting that way, and I do want to go that way, so we will plop on the anomaly instead of right where we started. I think we're going to take the Founder's Monument to start. 2 turns to grow. So notably for our nation, as the Necrophages are hungry and not very good at farming. -1 on terrain with food. Our area happens to have plenty of food, so that's not really a problem, initially. Tech-wise, we're going to want industry at the beginning. We're going to want a lot of the military sort of stuff at the beginning. because we're going to want more heroes as well. Do a go search party. How many techs am I gonna need? 7 more techs to get to 2. So you're probably looking industry. We're gonna need sewer, not necessarily in this order. Industry, sewer. Probably do seed storage. Resource extraction. We're on river, so we probably want the money tax. That leaves us with like 1 spare one, which wants to probably go on that. Okay. Okay, so I'm probably going to skip search party here. And then the question is, what do I want for order? Sewer system probably wants to go pretty close to the end of that. Or open bit, or after open bit mine. So we'll do something like that for the order of techs for our first 7 techs. Twitch chat saying they can relate, always hungry. So do they eat people like after battle? No bodies remain. In gameplay terms, it is implied that they basically take all the carcasses back from the battle, assuming they win the battle. Right? They obviously don't get to eat the remains or take the food back in situations where they don't win the battle. And of course, the game doesn't necessarily track corpses on the map after a battle. Skill tree wise, this is actually their skill tree. They tend to have traits like slavery, which increases the food and industry value for each pacified village. Understanding how to turn rotting flesh into powerful fertilizer. Extra food. Extra unit cost reduction. Health regen. Percentile food. Attack bonus on heroes. Although that's a little bit weird maybe to get into. And more health regen. We're going to search this ruin. We find some dust. And then we're going to want to probably go over to the other ruin and do basically the same thing. Search the ruin. And get lucky and find some more dust. Okay, that's our first turn. And here's our main faction quest. We're maybe not necessarily going to follow the main faction quest too much with the Necrophages, though. If there's an opportunity to do it, we will probably do it. With a main army exclusively composed of Necrophage units, win 3 battles. Okay, so that will probably happen at some point. We found the neighbors. We do probably want to build up a little bit more before we fight the neighbors. We've only got the hero and 2 units. Although we will probably want to be getting dug in on fighting enemies pretty early. Our default basic unit is the Forger, which has disease immunity and has disease. One of our starting techs is actually one of our extra unit types, which is actually our flying unit type. So we start with our melee and flying unit. And then we do have a support unit type we can research later. So probably after the Founders Memorial, we want to do something like so. Get a couple of flyers to come in and add to the army. And then we have 2 population in the city. And of course, it's going to start slowing down growth-wise at this point. Let's slow it down a little bit more to get the construction going a little bit faster. It's that wine deposit, okay. +5 support per pacified village, okay. spice. Okay, so we know the neighboring territories have spice in them. That was someone I meant the mill foundry. So we put that in Cuba as well. Okay, so we're gonna get mill foundry done in 5. So sort of the basic early game stick going on here. We're building up our industry, building up our economy, doing some sort of basic exploration. Probably need to keep the first hero as sort of a general hero, combat hero. It's tempting is to get some of the city-related effects. Everything that lowers upkeep. There's the upkeep lowering, okay. Yeah, I think we'll just run straight up to the upkeep there. Yeah, and there's our third ruin to explore. Build your extractors and get augmented extractor, which is +1 yield. Actually a nice quest to get. Okay, slightly through the fog of war, we can infer that we've got one of our neighbors over there. So they may end up being the first major that we end up fighting. Oh, and we can tell, based on the fact that we weren't contacted turn 1, that there's no Draken in this game. There was one in the last one. Okay, so we're getting a quest to... We're going to go explore lots of places in 15 turns quest, which is somewhat a nice quest. It basically gives you double rewards for a little while. Picked up seed storage. Probably should have done that after the dust stuff, actually, in hindsight. Although we maybe do... Well, no, we could have wintered at any point. Yeah, we'll delay that until after the next winter. Change the... we're up here. Probably on the apartment earlier. Import plan will pop up in 6 turns. We won't have a necessarily particularly interesting Empire plan, but we should be able to at least afford one, because we only got one city. Got 10 Quicksilver. Next location's over there. Spices. And we got another quest location here too. Way over there, okay. Upkeep's gone up because upkeep's just gone up, okay. Oh, well, as the hero levels up, the hero's costs go up. And this is, you can see in here what this relic encounter is. This is how many kit hours we've collected. I'm going to turn on the spices for extra food. Get our city growing a little bit faster. Probably should have done that out earlier, but just remembered. Got one of our drones. And we've actually come in contact with the Ardent Mages who are orange. I'm a little tempted to actually fight that one person right now, but that's going to distract me from our quest, so my timed quest. So we'll try to complete the timed quest before we get a dead scruffs up. So there's the Empire plan. I suppose I could have intentionally waited for the Empire plan to pick up the cost reduction. But we're not going to. We're going to spend it on... Well, we didn't, mostly. We're going to spend it on the vision instead, so we get a little bit better reconnaissance. While we're doing our early exploration here. Is that the next spot? Let's check. Here's the quest log. That's for loot. Yes, it's okay, so it's taking me back that way. Which is good, because I want to go merge up the Necrophage drones. We are late enough in the game that the first batches of roaming armies have spawned in. Okay, well, this isn't going to be the best of fights, but we can fight it. Oh, and of course we're facing disease immunity people. One of our specials most of our guys have is they have some sort of disease effect, which of course does not apply to the people we're fighting because they're also disease immune. It's a little hard to get the rocks cold. Give the rocks a bubonic plague or whatever. Let's try to focus fire if we can. Yeah, that's not working. Never mind, go back to what you were doing. Don't quite have the maneuverability to get guys where we want them to be. This hasn't necessarily been a good exchange for our troops, because partially it's because we didn't get the enemy to actually focus on a hero. It would probably gone better if we got them to focus on the hero. We're not going to lose the battle. The hero is going to survive, which means we are going to get cadavers. So this won't be a complete setback, but it's definitely not going the ideal path. So, 3 units died. Slightly knowing that 2 of those 3 units were ours, so we do pick up 3 cadavers. And some experience points for right here. And Twitch is going, oh, Necros can eat themselves too? I guess nothing goes to waste, yes. Well, that's the name of the trait, which is recycling. It's important that nothing goes to waste. So, yep, you're getting the theming there. Even our own casualties are but more cadavers on the pile. Every 8 cadavers, we get a food stockpile. And we can turn that food stockpile into food to make the city grow faster. Make the country grow faster. And this last Harmonite here is deciding he also needs to be added to the food pile. Push Chast asking, I wonder if they're sedimental. Oh, brother, wah, you do taste good, wah. I don't think they're sentimental. Part of the little bit of story intro we had at the beginning kind of implies that our, unlike most of the other nations, where you'd consider the majority of the population, if not the entire population, sentient people. For the Necrophage, it's actually kind of implied that, like, most of them are just hive insects, and it's like your heroes are actually the few that actually have enough intellect and understanding to become truly sentient, and that's why they're the heroes, effectively, in the case of the Necrophage. And here comes winter. There we go. Finish that quest up. We'll get the hero back to base and the army we're building for him to command. And then we'll probably go ahead and finish up this part for YouTube. Actually, no, this is probably a good place to finish up the part for YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, we will have another part up for you tomorrow. Basically, the plan in early next part is to get the army under the command of our general. Get enough money made that we can get the army upgraded to actual equipment instead of the default stuff. And then we're going to just start eating people. It's probably the best way to describe the immediate plans. Got to get the cadaver pile full of people who are hopefully not us. Hopefully. We got a couple more techs. We're down to 4 more techs in Era 1. You can see we're not necessarily making a lot of money right now. We'll be doing a little bit better in Era 2. When we can pick up one of our faction unit techs, which is the cannon fodder, for 50% less military upkeep. You probably pick up the Perfilator and stuff like that. Aristocratic promotion, Perfilator, a bunch of good stuff in Era 2. So with that, I'm going to go and wish you all the best of luck and a good time. Catch you all in the next part, and bye for now.